This week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast is brought to you by listeners like you. Head on over to patreon.com/Run, Eat, Drink podcast and subscribe today. Fans, founders, and insiders like you help us keep the Run, Eat, Drink podcast going, and we thank you for your support.
Hi, I'm Jeff Galloway, and you are listening to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country, and after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. This is episode 182, and I'm your host, Amy.
And I am your co-host, Dana.
Welcome to the show. It is wonderful to be here in the studio recording this very special episode.
It really is. As we are recording, we are having some pretty intense weather outside, so hopefully we make it through this without an electrical interruption. But welcome to Florida and storm season still. But yeah, this is episode that we have been talking about for a while, and that we've been looking really forward to getting recorded and in the can.
So this week, the running segment is the We Love Truckers Rob Nadeau Memorial Virtual Race. We have just come off of Truck Driver Appreciation Week.
Yes, just ended, I guess Saturday was technically the last day of it.
Yes. And it was a fitting time for us to be traveling to a beautiful part of the country so that we could have a nice setting to complete Rob's virtual race and honor him with a beautiful view and some amazing photos.
Absolutely. And for those of you that may not know who we're talking about or what we're talking about, we're going to get to that in the run segment. Just stick with us. It's going to be well worth it.
Yes.
And following that, of course, you know us, if we're traveling someplace to do a run, we're going to find you amazing food and beverage.
Yes.
And we did so this week.
Late night did not disappoint in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yes.
And our server, the atmosphere, the food, and the beverage all come from Bennett's Pit Barbecue. And what can I say? Except for my mouth is watering, and we haven't even gotten to the segment.
I was going to say,
yet.
just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, I could go for some of that, especially the items we're going to be talking about tonight.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Maybe that's because I'm back on the vegan eating, plant-based eating.
I'm right there with you.
And I'm like, I miss barbecue. Yeah.
And we've covered it a lot on the show because you all know we love it. So.
Yes. Oh, who doesn't? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Smoky.
Slow roasted, tender, pull apart meat, which again, okay, we're going to get into it in the food segment. It's just, I'm looking so forward to that, but yeah.
First, we have to celebrate some of the Runcation Nation. For all of you who ran miles in Rob's honor throughout the last few weeks and posted in the Runcation Nation Facebook group or on Instagram or in Road Trip Running or all of the above, thank you for signing up to complete the virtual race or making a donation to organizations that are near and dear to Rob Nadeau's heart. We had some people complete some races this past week that we have to celebrate in the shoutout section of our show before we start the run.
And that's in addition to the folks that we just talked about doing this. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
who else you got?
So we had great people in the Runcation Nation who ran that virtual race. We also have our friends from the Will Run For podcast who did the Rock the Knob along with Greg from Greg in Orlando.
Yeah.
On Instagram. So shout out to them, and shout out especially to Diana, who I think did this past week also a 5K and ran the entire thing.
Yeah.
So
no intervals.
No interval. And that was a goal of hers. So she achieved a goal. So we're shouting that out. Not that we run, walk, run everything.
We do. But if you're setting yourself that as a goal, a training goal to get to, that's a very good goal.
So congratulations. And also, Susie ran for wine in our hoodie. Well, I don't think she wore the hoodie in the race, but the run now, wine later. And it was a 5K, and she was wearing her hoodie as she was heading to the race. And she just said there was wine at the finish. The drink, not whining.
There may have been some whining. I think that the vino may have made the whining more bearable for people. But I do know that the hoodie,
perhaps
the Running Drink Podcast hoodie, does make your wine taste 17 to 22% better, as we have scientifically proven in the Running Drink Podcast labs.
Makes the race more fun. Makes you faster,
more attractive. It's just, it's
scientifically proven.
It's science. We don't really question it. We just accept it. And
also, Running Thru Wonderland Jenn from Instagram, that's her handle. She did a 10K and made it through successfully, and she did not get above the threshold of irritation for an injury she's been fighting or just some discomfort she's been fighting. So she achieved her goal too. And Jennifer Fink, her 4-year-old, had a first ever fun run. So shout out to her, proud mama.
Aww.
And the final one I have is JoJo, Positively Polly 1 on Instagram, also honored Rob Nadeau with not only her run in the Smokies we talked about last week, but also with presidents. She ran with presidents.
Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Yes.
A Mount Rushmore race with 8 miles or something like that of hills. So bravo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw some of her photos.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Rob would have been very appreciative. And
Beautiful.
We keep mentioning Rob.
So,
I guess before we...
let's now talk about the running segment proper. And if anybody else has any shout outs that we didn't find anywhere on social media, send them to us.
Yes.
Message us or email or call us, whatever you need to do so that you can be shouted out on the show and made Runcation Nation famous.
And you can message us on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email us at info@runeatdrink.net. That's info@runeatdrink.net. Just shoot us a message, put shout out in the subject line, and let us know what's going on with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we're going to transition into that run segment, we keep mentioning Rob, and there may be some people who are newer to the podcast who aren't familiar with Rob, and if that's the case, welcome. But we want to tell you about somebody who was near and dear to our hearts, who is near and dear to our hearts, but who is unfortunately no longer with us. Rob Nadeau was one of our earliest members of the Runcation Nation. He was one of the earliest supporters of the podcast when we began our Patron program, and he was just somebody who was very active. We actually had him on the show for a segment that we did.
Our anniversary call-in.
Yes. And he was just the most positive, upbeat, amazing guy. And he was a trucker out west, and he was an avid trail runner. And he brought a love of running, and he brought a love of running in amazing places in the United States, and shared that love through his photography. And if you've been in our Facebook group, the Runcation Nation, and if you're not in there, please head over there. It's a private group, but we just want you to message us, and we'll make sure you're not a robot, and we'll let you in. It's nothing crazy.
You can go back and you can see his photos.
You can check out his photos, and he just had an amazing eye for transporting you to the places that he was running. And it was just such an amazing guy, and to be able to do that. And he touched all of us in the time that we got to know him, and became just an integral part of the Runcation Nation community. And after his passing, his family put together this virtual race that we're going to talk about this week. This is the We Love Truckers Rob Nadeau Memorial Virtual.
And it could have been any variety of distances. I think that one of our patrons, Rob was a patron, an early patron, like you were talking about, and supporter of the show. And he would always call in when we would solicit answers to questions and things like that. And Josh is the same in terms of his support. I think he's doing the longest distance. I think he's doing like an ultra distance to honor Rob. And but you could do 5K like we did, 10K, half marathon, whatever. And it was all the same race fee and all going to organizations that Rob was passionate about.
Yeah, Rob wanted to support St. Christopher's Trucker Relief Fund and Coke Trucking. And it was nice in Trucker Appreciation Week. It was great seeing the fact that we weren't the only ones honoring truckers. I would turn on the news in the morning.
Yeah.
And regardless of which channel I flipped to, I would see some of the morning talking heads at some point or another talking about this as a segment in their broadcast. And it was great that they were pointing out the fact that no matter what you are using, whether it's an electronic device, food in your house, whatever the case may be, the overwhelming vast majority of the things that you use and consume and have were brought to you by a trucker.
Yes. Rob was essentially keeping us all afloat in his profession and supplying us with what we needed to live daily life.
Absolutely.
But also, he was also, I say also so many times, he supported and fed our spirit.
Yes. And that was through his amazing eye.
When we couldn't travel.
Yeah. And especially during the height of the pandemic, he was instrumental in sending really amazing pictures to the group of these places that were just gorgeous, whether it was mountainous terrain or a beautiful farmhouse in the distance, whatever the case may be.
Desert.
And desert shots. Yeah. I don't know. Everybody might not want to run into desert, but yeah.
Snow-capped mountain views.
True.
Yes.
And made us want to go out west even more.
Oh, yeah.
Really did. But when we were thinking about how we wanted to do this, we registered for the race immediately.
And I really have to say a special thank you to Patty and Tori for putting it together.
Yeah, they did an amazing job in a very difficult time getting the race put together and posted and doing it in such short notice while still grieving. They were incredible. Yeah. And I'm just glad that
Rob's family,
so many of us were able to assist and jump in and support him. But we wanted to do something to specifically honor Rob in the way in which we did this race. We do 5K distance pretty regularly for training in our neighborhood.
Sure.
Local 5Ks here and there. So we knew we had some travel coming up. We were going to be bouncing from city to city over about a 3-week period. And it was going to be Alaska and then back here to Florida. And then we were heading up to Tennessee. And we said, we're running that one in the Smoky Mountains.
At the perfect time.
Maybe that'll be the place where we could do something and find a vista, find something that would have been worthy of Rob and his eye on the camera, and just something that would have been so him.
Yeah.
And we were, in fact, able to do that when we ran our vacation races, Great Smoky Mountains 5K.
Yes. So we ran that, and we'll talk about that race proper
on
next
an upcoming episode.
Week. The one we did for Rob, we decided to take some chances, do some things we've never done.
And certainly never on this show.
And go to a place called Laurel Falls Trail.
Yeah, now we were fortunate. Staying in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, we were literally walking distance to the entrance of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
Yes.
And we were no more than a 20-minute drive or so to the trailhead at the Laurel Falls Trail.
Indeed.
But this time of year is a little busy in that area.
It is.
You might say.
A destination, if you will.
Not just for races either.
For vacations. Runcations and vacations.
Vacations, other special events that were going on in the area.
Yeah, there was a car show.
And we got to see some of those cars driving around on those mountain roads. They were gorgeous.
Yeah.
But we wanted to find a vista and a view that would be appropriate to Rob. So we decided to do a trail, more of a hike than a run, because we didn't know what we were going to be expecting in terms of the terrain.
I was nervous about it because we don't normally do trail running. It's not really, especially at elevations above
9 feet.
Sea level.
Yeah, we're pretty much sea level here.
Yeah.
We are sea level here, and this was more than sea level.
Yeah, I was nervous.
So we ended up driving to the trailhead only to find out that it's so crowded right now in that area that you can only park at the trailhead by appointment only.
Yes, you have to
make a reservation.
Make a reservation. We have a link to the Laurel Falls Trail website, the National Park website with all the info. But if you go to that area, you either have to make your reservation well in advance, or we had the great fortune to be right around the corner where we were staying. We were right around the corner from a shuttle that took people to Laurel Falls for $5.
Yeah, $5 round trip per person.
And you either pay that online or you pay in cash when you get to the bus.
So that worked out great. Aside from the little drive up and drive back, perfectly, convenient and super nice. And everybody who hopped on the shuttle, everybody was super friendly and excited to be going.
Mm-hmm. And currently you have to have a mask, just a tip.
While you're on the shuttle.
On the shuttle. To and from.
So we take the shuttle, we head back to the trailhead, took some photos right there, and then we were off to the races, so to speak.
It was something I have never done before. I thought I had the wrong shoes. I was very nervous because the trail is not, there are no rails.
No rails on the trail.
It's open. It's exposed rock. It's humongous trees. And there are, as you climb the trail, you get higher and higher and you can see things below you. And you could, if you are not careful and watching where you're going, you could fall off the trail quite a distance down.
They do have signage that says that there is a danger of falling deaths, and it has happened before. So you do have to be mindful of that. But this is considered to be a paved trail.
I'm probably making more out of it because it was my first time on a trail run. Or on a hike.
No, there's no rail. And if you don't stop when the drop happens, you'll...
So I don't mean to just scare people,
You're not. No, I don't think you're being scary at all.
Yeah.
But I was never going to let you fall. You were good. But
I just was never, ever really, truly sure of my footing on the way up.
You did get more confident on your way back. Like I mentioned, this is technically a paved trail. This was originally built to allow fire crews to access to the Cove Mountain area in the event of a wildfire. And that's the reason that it's paved. Now, when we say paved, it has been paved at one time.
It's a broad term.
It's a generous description. It's not what you would call smooth pavement by any stretch, nor consistent pavement by any stretch. And it probably hasn't been paved in half a decade or half a century.
I think that nature has impacted the trail.
Very much so. I believe that
Weather.
according to the National Parks website, I believe that it was reconditioned last in 1963. So I actually wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
It's been 50 plus years.
Well, okay.
And it felt every bit of it. But this trail, it leads you, it's about 1.3 miles into the falls and then 1.3 miles
say
out.
in. I say up.
Up is more accurate, I think.
Because I was just he is being very humble. He managed me the entire time. I was very unsure and unsteady on the way up.
You did great, and I think that you saw after doing it that the payoff was well worth it.
Oh, when we got to the top and saw the falls, was gorgeous. The water was cold. We put our hands in the falls. We sat on the rocks and watched people hike down or climb down below us.
Not the rocks in the falls. They actually tell you, please don't climb those because it's
Right.
slippery and you're going to fall. It's happened.
It's-
It'll stop you.
It's super slick.
Yeah, it's covered with slimy rocks.
It's like they're coated in baby oil.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, yeah.
That part where the falls, like you said, where we were sitting, is this rocky outcropping, and we could sit and look at the area below the falls, and that's where people were hiking down or climbing down.
They were climbing down, and I just getting back up was going to be questionable for me, so I did not do it. But we sat on the rocks and we watched those people have fun and get photos, and
We got photos.
we got photos by the falls and had snacks.
We did. I packed snacks
Yeah, that's a smart tip, I think.
and water.
If you are on the trail, I say take a little bit of water with you, take some snacks so that you can sit when you get to the top and enjoy the falls, enjoy the view, enjoy the mountain view out beyond the falls, and just take some time and refuel as well.
And just remember, if you're going to be on any of our national parks trails, leave them in better condition than when you came.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to leave any of your food wrappers around,
No.
anything like that. This area is very, very active with black bears, and the likelihood of us running into a bear on the trail was very great, actually.
Yes.
So we were very careful to have an airtight container to put all of our wrappers in, made sure that that was sealed up, and we didn't have any food exposed.
You took a great backpack with us
I did. Nothing was left there that we brought in.
so that we could have water and food, and then we could put everything in the backpack, hike back down, and then dispose in the proper containers when we got back to the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. The ultimate destination is the falls, but honestly, the hike on the way there gives you amazing views of the creeks running down below you, the trees that are covering the mountain, and of course, the mountains in the distance. The vistas are incredible. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're really, weather was perfect. I think it was 65 degrees when we did the hike.
Yeah, it wasn't too cold. It wasn't too warm. It
Great
wasn't
in the shade.
humid. It was perfect conditions. We got some great photos, and the other hikers were very helpful, and we took pictures for them and they took pictures for us. And
Yes.
it was just a nice little community, nice to meet some people that were on the trails with us.
National Park Service volunteers. There were a
Yes.
few of them along the trail as well.
And I just think Rob would have loved the view up there.
Oh, without a doubt.
When we got to the falls, it was just beautiful.
And if you look at our episode artwork this week, one of the photos that's in that artwork is the falls themselves with our bibs.
Yeah. With our bibs, we were 6 and 7.
Yeah, so I know that we're going to share some of those photos throughout the week.
Yes.
Now that this episode is in the feed.
Yes.
And you'll see what we're talking about if you look at our social media feed over the next few days.
Yeah. It was gorgeous, and doing something for the first time is scary. And coming back down, I felt more confident.
And I think that there's, some other aspects of doing this race that impacted you as well, not just you feeling more confident.
Yeah. Going through a big transition right now with a new job.
Mm-hmm.
So change is scary. Doing something for the first time is scary. So I think a lot of what I experienced on the trails mirrored overcoming obstacles and pushing through when you think you can't, and asking questions and being aware and curious and being friendly to those who are friendly and supportive and helpful to you. So
being bold enough to see what's up around the corner.
It's not
Always,
visible.
And it's not always a bear.
It's not always visible what's around the corner. It's not always visible the next steps you're going to have to take. And so it mirrored a part of life that's just going on back here at home right now.
Yeah. I think this was the best place we could have done this for Rob.
Yes.
I enjoyed this. This was 2.6 miles on the trail. We got the rest of our 5K in at the end.
We were waiting for the shuttle.
So, I mean, that we knocked out our 5K. We definitely got a sweat on, and we burned some calories that day. The ascent and the hill work for us was, most people who are live out west or in mountainous areas,
they would laugh. That's cool.
It was a little harder for us, being dwellers down here at sea level, but
sure.
We did it.
And there were also another practical tip there at the end.
Oh.
They have porta potties.
Yes, at the trailhead.
If you
Nothing
need them.
along the trail.
Nothing along the trail. So before you go up and after you come down, you have access to that.
Good.
So that's
Actually,
a good thing.
Good tip.
Yep.
So you heard it here. If you are going to be in the Gatlinburg area and you're thinking about doing something for maybe a day hike,
Yes.
this would be a great one to do early in the morning. Maybe around sun up. That would be pretty amazing, I think. Yeah. So check this trail out. We've linked to it in the show notes.
Yes.
The National Park Service has a great page dedicated to this trail specifically.
Yes.
And trail safety, trail history, the whole 9 yards. And they even have a nice photo from the wooden bridge that's over the falls, where the falls comes down and hits, and then the water runs on this little bridge and it continues on. And we got photos on the bridge. We're going to be sharing all those photos throughout the week. And we just wanted to bring this to you guys and celebrate Rob in this way with a race location that we think he would have appreciated and would have been appropriate for him. And Rob, we love you and we miss you. And
yes, we do.
Patty, we were thinking of you guys. It's
Tori,
absolutely devastating, but we are going to keep on with doing what we can to honor his memory and run in interesting and amazing places and enjoy the beauty and bring that beauty and share it with other members of the Runcation Nation as best we can. So that's how we can best honor his memory, I think. But all that running did make us very hungry.
Yes. So hungry.
And we were fortunate because we were staying in a location that was very convenient. And around the corner, literally from our hotel, was an amazing location for barbecue that we stumbled upon. And we had recommended to us by several locals.
Yeah.
The main drag in Gatlinburg is very touristy. A lot of the places are corporate chains. Those are not the places we're looking for. We're looking for the places that are a little bit off the beaten path or places that are the mom and pops.
Might be a local chain.
Or a local chain.
In this case, yes.
Exactly. But this isn't on the main drag exactly. This is one block off.
This was on the way to the shuttle?
It's on the way to the shuttle. It is exactly one street over from the main drag, from the parkway.
Yeah.
Cutting through Gatlinburg. And
the Gatlinburg location. That's the one we went to. There's also a location in Pigeon Forge.
Which we drove through Pigeon Forge. We didn't stop in Pigeon Forge.
No.
But
no time.
But this location was, one thing we did learn is that a lot of places close fairly early.
Indeed.
Up there.
Even on the weekend?
9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Even on the weekend.
So we were fortunate to get in there probably right within the last hour.
Yeah, we showed up an hour before closing, and Sam was our savior, an outstanding server who was also the host that sat us.
Yes. And Amy and I have both been in food service, and we try not to be those people that show up at the last hour. We get it. We know the kitchen's wanting to start winding down.
Know it.
Servers are closing their stations. And we said, hey, look, we're not looking to mess you up. Please tell us if you're wanting to get out of here, if you guys are shutting most of the things down. He said, nope, absolutely not. Come on in.
Yeah, he was so great. So great.
We did. And what a great place. Like when you walk in, there's actually kind of two sides to the restaurant.
Yeah.
One is the Italian pizzeria side.
Yes.
And that's a separate restaurant, separate concept. And then the other one is their barbecue, the Bennett's barbecue.
Yeah.
And we opted, of course, for barbecue.
And I'm so happy we did.
I am too, because we had something there that I've never seen, never had, and didn't know what to think of it.
We saw it on the appetizer portion of the menu.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, wow. I don't know, you love at Thanksgiving time, deviled eggs.
If you put a plate of deviled eggs in front of me and you leave me unattended, there will be me and no deviled eggs left.
You love deviled eggs.
Yes.
I have never been not a huge connoisseur.
That's fair. That's fair to say.
Not that they're not good. My sister makes outstanding deviled eggs during Thanksgiving.
Sure.
So these were fried deviled eggs.
Yes.
Fried.
Fried deviled eggs.
Yes, you heard us correctly. Fried.
So I'm envisioning all sorts of things. Didn't know how this was going to be, like maybe like a Scotch egg.
That's what I thought too. I totally thought that too.
I could not wait to see what this was going to be like. And they said it's fried deviled egg with chow chow. And this is something, Amy's never had chow chow. I didn't know this. We learn things about each other all the time. I didn't know you'd never had chow chow.
I've just never had it. I've heard about it, never had it.
And this is basically a sweet and spicy relish that's made usually from cabbage. You'll see preparations with a green tomato. They can vary in spice level. They can
pepper,
vary in heat, but they're usually tangy and sweet and sometimes quite spicy, depending on where you get them from.
This one was not all that spicy.
Leaned very heavily into the sweet and tangy.
I remember it being very, very tangy.
And what they did with this was really pretty cool. They battered and fried the egg white portion.
Yeah.
So
you would hollow out.
Yeah.
Of a hard-boiled egg.
And then they piped in the yellow filling.
Yes.
And then they gave you the chow chow in the center to spoon onto it as you might want.
Sauce.
Or to dip.
Yeah. Although spooning on is probably the better way to go.
Well, you're probably less likely to lose your topping if you spoon.
Or you could pour it on.
So tell me your thoughts on this as you're,
Sweet and tangy in terms of the chow chow. I really liked that. It made deviled eggs more appealing to me. The egg white was crunchy, and it wasn't like a cornmeal breading. It was not. It was like
almost a panko.
Yeah, but not as coarse. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you agree.
I do. It was like a flour breading.
Yeah.
Seasoned flour breading.
And normally I'll see the deviled egg filling. Normally I'll see the deviled egg filling be more chunky.
Yes.
And this was a smoother one so that you could give way to the texture of the chow chow.
Yes, it was almost whipped. It was so smooth.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a mousse consistency.
Good. Yes. Very much so.
The egg flavor came through. It was salted perfectly. It just not too much to take away from the sweet and tart notes in the chow chow. So I thought it was excellent, which is a lot to say for me.
You ate half of them. I mean, you were not disliking these at all.
Yeah. So I would have them again.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were
This is a first.
so very good.
This is a first in 20 plus years.
For deviled eggs. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've never. What did you think of them?
I
You're
may.
connoisseur.
Yes, I've really not met too many deviled eggs I didn't like. These were absolutely fantastic. The frying of the egg white portion I think is ingenious because it adds a layer of crunch that you're not usually going to get from a deviled egg. They're usually very eggy.
I think if they did a whole Scotch egg thing, it would fall apart. Or it would be danger. The danger would be it would fall apart.
Yeah, and I don't know how you could do it without heating up the yolk mixture. And I don't know that I would want that hot. I actually loved the juxtaposition of the fact that the egg white portion was warm and the filling was cool or cold.
Yes.
So you had the difference in temperature, which was nice. You also had the difference in texture because the frying the egg white did firm it up more. So those were much more firm than you would typically see in a deviled egg.
Yeah.
But you had this smoothness of that. Like you said, it's almost like the egg yolk mousse.
Yes.
And then you get the spicy chow chow on there. Or I say spicy, but spice in terms of flavor, tart and sweet. So you just have this fantastic change in texture, temperature, and flavor. So you have creamy, tart, sweet, crunchy, everything happening all in one bite.
Works.
These are fantastic.
I would have them again.
Never seen this before.
I totally would have them again.
And then we said, we're here. We've got to get some barbecue.
Yeah.
And we just decided to order one plate and split it.
Yes. Because one plate gives you an enormous amount of food and great variety.
Like half a cow.
You can get the barbecue combo plate and you can choose among 3 types of meat among their barbecue offerings.
Yeah, we got a nice healthy sampling of proteins and a couple of sides and a couple of...
Yeah, you could get, we didn't get the chicken. I would be interested to try that next time, but we got the sausage, we got the brisket, and we got ribs with a side of fried corn and then a side of mac and cheese along with those biscuits.
Yeah, everything scratch made down to their sausage. Which sausage was fantastic. It had a great snap. It was closest to a kielbasa.
It's a softer consistency than I would have expected in the middle.
It wasn't overcooked. And
smoky.
Very flavorful. Yeah. Like you said, a lot of smoke flavor to that, but it didn't overpower the meat.
Yeah.
But a very fine grind on the meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that the ribs were just tender, came off the bone very easily, and had bark and barbecue sauce on them. And they were the meat was tender and the right combination of just that bark.
Those are pork ribs.
Those are, And
then we got the brisket. These were brisket, like burnt ends.
Yes, but it was not all the toughest part of the burnt ends or the crispest part.
Right.
The crispiest part of the burnt ends. It was the right combination of the fatty, moist. And I know some people hate that term. I'm sorry.
No, you have to use that when you're talking about brisket because you get the 2 ends of the brisket and they're both very different in terms of texture.
It's like the fatty portion.
Yeah.
Which brings the flavor.
Oh, yeah.
And it was smoky and meaty and just nothing on this plate was tough.
No, not a thing. And
Sam talked about how it had been made that day or finished off that day if it was in the process of smoking.
Yeah, if they put meats in the smoker overnight, then you weren't getting anything more than, I think, 12 or 8 or 12 hours, however long they're smoking for that day.
Yeah.
And we were not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. I totally see why the locals were recommending this to us.
The house barbecue sauce that Sam brought to the table was my favorite.
I was going to say, the other thing is that they really had a nice selection of house barbecue sauce.
Yeah, scratch made, and you could actually take some home too if you wanted to. But that one was just the right amount of molasses sweetness, but then also smokiness and spice.
And I really thought you would have gravitated towards the mustard sauce.
I'm all about it.
Because that's the one you're usually all about. Yeah.
100%. What did you think?
Honestly, I think that the one thing we didn't talk about were the sides. The biscuits were fantastic. These were like drop biscuits in their consistency. They were very uneven and, but they were just pull apart. They were moist. They were just great with a little bit of the meat.
Oh, yeah.
The fried corn it had a little bit of crunch, but it didn't get dried out. So they didn't have it frying too long. Perfect. And their mac and cheese was very close to what I was used to from my mom. They did a great job with their mac and cheese. Yeah. I had no complaints at all about Bennett's in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and they'll have, on the table, they'll have squeeze bottles of sauce, the honey, mustard, and then the puckering pig, which is spicy.
Mm-hmm. And that's the one that I liked. I really enjoyed their spicy.
It was good.
Again, they're Tennessee, being a Tennessee restaurant, the Memphis influences for maybe some sweeter sauces is probably influencing where they lean towards and making their sauces, but they did a really nice job across the board.
Yeah. Super.
Conspicuously missing was a vinegar-based barbecue sauce or a white barbecue sauce, like in Alabama, white. But yeah, what they presented was spot on.
I didn't miss it.
No.
I didn't miss it.
Really
I
good.
love those, but I did not miss it.
So, would you go there again?
Yes. 100%. I would. And I would, like I said, try different meats, try some different appetizers, because they had all sorts of offerings that we don't see down here our way.
We're going to have a link to Bennett's in the show notes.
Yeah, Bennett's Pit Barbecue. Sam, thanks for the excellent service and the delicious meal.
But before we talk about the drink that we got from Bennett's, we want to say thank you to our patrons and let you know that if you are interested in supporting the show, you can head over to patreon.com/Run Eat Drink Podcast and check out the 3 levels of monthly support that we have: $2, $5, or $10. Each one of those has their own unique perks that go along with the sponsorship levels, and it's our way of saying thank you and your way of making sure that we're able to continue to grow and improve the show and give you more of what you love.
As always, we thank everyone for all the ways you support the Run Eat Drink Podcast.
Let's talk drinks, because I wasn't expecting the beverage game at a barbecue joint to be as strong as it was. And yet, here we are.
The cocktail game, more specifically. The moonshine-based cocktails.
And I guess I should have expected it, given the prevalence of moonshine in the area and the fact that we were walking distance from 2 moonshine distilleries. But the fact that the local restaurants are incorporating these and making
that.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Featuring local moonshine, or places that feature local beer, local distilleries, spirits. I just love it.
I do too.
When that happens. And this did not disappoint, because Old Smoky moonshine was featured in both of our cocktails.
It was.
Yeah. And Sam for the win again when he said, you should really try the watermelon moonshine, because that cocktail just tastes like a watermelon Jolly Rancher.
Yes.
So those hard candies that it takes forever to eat one.
Mm-hmm.
But
didn't take forever to drink this, though.
Oh, no.
And that's where the danger would lie.
It came out the color of the flesh of a ripened watermelon in a mason jar, which I just love for the setting that we were in. The barbecue restaurant with the picnic table cloth with the red and the white classic. And it just, at first glance, it's pink. It's that watermelon color. And
it even smelled like a Jolly Rancher.
It smelled and tasted like a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah.
It was perfect description that he gave us. And it was potent. It did not skimp on the moonshine.
No.
So I absolutely loved it. I would have it again. I ordered the watermelon because you got the one I almost got. So,
well, much like Amy, I was going to try the local beverage because I love that too. I love the incorporation of local distilleries, craft breweries.
It's so great.
And they did a iced tea moonshine, a sweet tea shine.
We've had an excellent one at Homecoming there at Disney Springs in Orlando.
We have.
And that is sweet and more lemony, I think, than this one that you had.
This was much more about the sweet tea flavor.
Yeah.
And I actually...
Because you never have lemon in your tea. Your water, whatever.
I will occasionally have it in my water. I grew up not having lemon in my tea. My mom didn't like it. I didn't like it. The only time growing up that I would have it is if I got like a pre-made tea in a can, like a soft drink type tea.
Yeah.
But no, I like my iced tea sweet, and I like it with nothing in it, typically. That said, this one here had a nice combination of, I think they have a sweet tea flavored moonshine, and sweet tea is what they put in this cocktail.
Very good.
And it was phenomenal.
I mean, we were so focused on enjoying them. I don't even think we took a picture of the ingredients.
No, not this time.
Yeah.
But I would get it again.
Yes.
I would take a photo next time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, but these are potent. I would say you're looking at your shot of alcohol in there is going to be in the high 40s.
Oh.
At least in terms of ABV.
It's a proof.
Fortunately for us, we were walking distance from the hotel.
Yes.
No need to drive. Iced tea or sweet tea flavored moonshine. There are a number of companies. And the one that you mentioned at Artsmith's Homecoming in Orlando.
Yeah.
That was my baseline. I was using that kind of in my head to compare, and actually, I love Art Smith's Homecoming. Oh. But this one, because it didn't lean into the lemon as much, I kind of like this one better.
I figured you would say.
But that's not that the one at Homecoming is not great.
I actually did figure. Yeah,
it's just
great.
It's the lemon. It's the lemon.
I know. And that's a personal preference.
That's it. If you're a lemon tea drinker, you will love that one. But this one here, if you just want to lean into the sweet tea flavor.
Both of them are flavorful.
Oh, yeah. And I liked yours. I was a big fan of yours. When I smelled it, I'm like, oh, this smells like the candy.
Yeah.
And mine smells like tea, which made it really dangerous.
So perfect. So perfect. So Bennett's Pit Barbecue, not only fantastic barbecue, outstanding appetizers and sides, and maybe even some bonus stuff we're going to share with the patrons a little bit later on this month. The drinks are stellar.
They are.
Yeah.
You're not going to go wrong for the whole experience there. Check them out. Links in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Next week, we alluded to it. We've at least geographically gotten there in the show.
Yeah.
We are talking about Vacation Race's Smoky Mountains 5K. We're going to do the race recap and some more amazing food from Tennessee.
Indeed. Do you know this is like all of the food that we found and share? Disclaimer. I was in the mood to have some really delicious barbecue and beef and steak. And these two that we're going to recap, that we did recap tonight and that we're going to recap next week, didn't disappoint. So stay tuned for that.
Absolutely.
We have not had a review in Apple Podcasts in a while. So we need help.
We do.
We do.
I didn't know that. We do.
We need help because they tend to fall away and we're not as discoverable if we don't have
recent
reviews and more reviews.
Yeah, it's all about the algorithm when it comes to being in Apple Podcasts, and we need your help with the algorithm. You don't know how to do the algorithm, just do this part for us.
Head on over to Apple Podcasts on your mobile phone, on an iPad, tablet, or in iTunes on a PC. Leave us a rating and review.
5 stars would really help us out and would help us get discovered. As people start searching for travel podcasts, it will pop up more.
Yeah.
If they start searching for food, we'll pop up more. If they start searching for drink, we'll pop up.
Of course, which is fantastic. And we've shared them in the past on the show. We will certainly share yours. Tell us what you love and what you want to hear more of too.
Thank you guys so much for listening this week, for joining us on your long run, your commute to work, around the house, or wherever you are.
I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe, stay well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having another great year thanks to your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or send us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Find out how you can support the show at patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.